The curse of the black source in the remote village of Durgapur, nestled deep within the dark, ominous forests of Bengal, a legend had been whispered for centuries, a tale of an ancient sorcerer whose soul never left the mortal world. His name was Raghunath, and he was no ordinary man. He was a master of black magic, feared by all. Even after his death, hundreds of years ago, Raghunath was the most powerful tantric in the region. He practiced forbidden rituals, calling upon spirits that lurked in the shadows. He could curse a man to his death with a mere chant, control minds, and even summon the dead. But power breeds arrogance, and Raghunath desired immortality. He performed a dreadful ritual under the blood-red moon, offering his own flesh and blood to the dark gods in exchange for eternal life. The ritual, however, went horribly wrong. As he stood in the center of a sacred circle, reciting incantations in a long-forgotten language, the air around him thickened. Shadows coiled and twisted like living serpents, whispering secrets of the abyss. Suddenly, a force beyond comprehension struck him down. His body withered, his eyes melted into darkness, and his soul became trapped between the realms of the living and the dead. The villagers, terrified of his wrath, bound his lifeless body in chains inscribed with holy scriptures and buried him deep beneath the roots of the oldest banyan tree in the village. But a curse never truly dies. Centuries passed, and the world forgot about Raghunath. The banyan tree grew thick and gnarled, its roots twisting like the fingers of a skeletal hand. Then, on the night of the lunar eclipse, a reckless group of young men, Vikram, Rajat, and Anirban, decided to test the old legend. They ventured deep into the forest with lanterns in hand, their laughter masking their fear. It's just a silly old story, Rajat scoffed. There's no such thing as ghosts. Then why don't you dig here? Anirban challenged, pointing at the banyan tree's base. With a drunken bravado, Vikram grabbed a shovel and struck the earth. The first few digs were easy, but as they went deeper, an overwhelming stench filled the air, a sickly mixture of decay and sulfur. Suddenly, Vikram's shovel hit something hard. He knelt down and brushed the dirt away, revealing rusted iron chains, still pulsing with an eerie glow, and then the ground trembled. A ghastly wail erupted from beneath, a sound that seemed to claw at their very souls. The roots of the banyan tree twisted violently, breaking apart the soil as something began to rise. A skeletal figure emerged, its hollow eye sockets burning with malevolent fire. The air turned ice cold, and an oppressive darkness swallowed their lanterns. Raghunath had returned. The three men ran for their lives, but they had awakened something that could not be undone. That night, Vikram was the first to die. His mother found him in his room, his face frozen in an expression of utter horror, his mouth wide open as if screaming in eternal agony. His body was twisted unnaturally, his limbs bent in impossible angles. The next night, Rajat disappeared. His house was found in shambles, furniture overturned, walls smeared with blood, and a message scrawled in an ancient script: "You freed me. Now suffer." His body was never found. Anirban, now the last survivor, knew he had to find a way to undo the curse. He sought help from an aged priest, Baba Govind, who had spent his life studying the dark arts. Baba Govind revealed that the only way to banish Raghunath was to return his soul to the abyss by performing the same ritual, this time, sealing the gateway forever. That very night, armed with holy relics and mantras, Anirban and Baba Govind ventured back to the banyan tree. The air was thick with an unnatural silence. As they began the ritual, the shadows came alive. The wind howled like a banshee, and Raghunath's form materialized before them, a monstrous entity of bone and shadow, his skeletal fingers stretching toward Anirban's throat. "You dare defy me?" the entity hissed, its voice layered with echoes from the beyond. Anirban chanted the sacred incantation while Baba Govind threw sanctified ash into the air. The specter screeched in fury, its form flickering as if struggling to remain in the mortal plane. The earth cracked open beneath it, revealing an endless abyss of writhing souls. With one final, deafening roar, Raghunath was pulled into the darkness, his screams fading into the void. The aftermath. The village remained silent about the incident, yet the banyan tree stood as a grim reminder. Over the years, strange occurrences continued. Travelers reported whispers in the wind, flickering shadows, and an unsettling presence near the cursed spot. Decades later, a team of paranormal investigators visited Durgapur, determined to unravel the legend. They set up cameras and recording devices near the banyan tree. At midnight, the equipment picked up eerie, disembodied voices. One investigator, Rahul, woke up with deep scratches all over his back the following morning. Another team member, Sneha, claimed to see a pair of burning eyes staring at her through the dense foliage. Their footage revealed something even more terrifying, an indistinct, shadowy figure lurking behind the tree, its skeletal fingers reaching out. The village priest, now an old man, warned them to leave before it was too late. "You cannot fight what is beyond this world," he whispered, ignoring his warnings. The team stayed one more night. By dawn, 2 of them were missing. Their cameras lay shattered, their tents torn apart. The remaining investigators fled in terror, never to return. To this day, no one dares to set foot near the banyan tree after sunset. The villagers know better. They know that some curses never fade, they only wait, and on certain nights, when the wind howls and the moon turns red, the villagers still hear it, the ghostly whisper of Raghunath, promising his return.